Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic Star. Here we are, look at us. Four handsome young men in the primes of our life, all just hanging out together and having a wonderful evening. What a delight for you, dear viewer, to join us. Someone's bobbling along on my desktop audio. I don't know what that is. Tell me if you can hear that, anyone. There's something that's bobbling along somewhat, and I can't quite pick up what it is. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Boys from the Baltic. Doesn't seem to be picking up on stream, but let me know. My sound files are all over the place. Anyway, good evening. Welcome to tonight. It's Saturday night on the Baltic Star, which means shenanigans, generally. It means we get in some guests, some friends, some buddies, some pals, and we role play things that aren't Traveller. And tonight is one of our favourites. And if this is your first time, oh, what a treat you're in for. Mainly because of that man in the bottom left with the finest beard on channel. Yes, exactly. That's why he's put there, so it's easy to explain where he is. We are playing tonight. We're going to play, if it's your first time, we're going to play, I don't know, 2.5 hours. We'll see how it goes. John is 2 hours ahead of us, and his cats are very needy. So John's ahead of us. Mine and Ben's bladders are terrible, and Ewan and John have needy cats. So between us, we'll work out when we get a break and when we're finishing for the evening. One of the four of us will just say, we need a break. One of us will say, we need to finish. And that's what will happen this evening. So hang around for as long or short as you want. If you just want to pop in and out, that's absolutely fine. Next thing, chat. Feel free to chat or feel free to ignore altogether. We love our lurkers. We love our chatters. Feel free to do either. You can chat amongst yourselves. If we're not busy in the game, you'll find that we join in with the chat as well. And you might find that comments and suggestions in chat find their way into the game. It's happened before. The chatty lurkers, I know, Rockfrog, just like you, really. We love our chatty lurkers. Please feel free to be you and just be happy. There's a red sun there. You can click to spend some points. Those that are used to this know that some will interact with the game and some are just fun. Anything with that sort of pinky red will make a noise, which is always entertaining because it cuts into what I'm trying to say. You can name an NPC. You can give your heroes a boon. You can just have a flick around and see what you fancy. So do what you need to do. Boon is on tonight. Very important. So have a look and see what takes your fancy. I think that is it for now. Only to introduce our players for this evening. And we are really at the top of the tree tonight. The total A game as far as I'm concerned. But we have 3 total legends who sadly have to put up with a game run by myself. Luke, hello. At the top. AKA the channel daddy, according to Sock Fiddler, who can't ever take it back. And I'm going to remind her of it every time she sees me for now. Let's go this way to... but now if we're talking about favourites, this is the man. He is the housewife's favourite. He is my brother from another mother, a Floofmeister General. He is the cheerfulest man you could ever meet. It is Ewan. Good evening, Ewan. How are you?
Good evening, Luke. I'm doing really well, thanks, actually. I'm super excited for tonight. It's always got a really nice, cosy vibe, no matter what horrors and confusion you throw at us. And of course, it's great to be playing with 3 such wonderful people.
Wow, we're all very... There's a very big loving vibe tonight. I'm quite enjoying it, it must be said.
Yeah. Lean into it.
It may look
the vibe, not the loving.
Well, it may look like we've got 4 different backgrounds, but we're all sat under a big bed together, the duvet across our knees. A roaring fire in front of us that you can't see. It's behind our cameras.
And, it's remarkable that one end of the duvet is 2 hours ahead of the other side.
It's a very long duvet.
Spitting, I feel, for the game.
A hell of
a duvet. Exactly. Speaking of the 2 hours ahead piece of the duvet, he's at the cold end of the duvet because there's only one person there, whereas the 3 of us are keeping it warm this end. But he's the man that brings the sexiness to the channel. He sends the viewers into a tiz with his looks and his voice and his role playing and his mind, of course. He is a legend of the channel and of the internet. It is John. Good evening, John. How are you?
Thought you were talking about Ben.
Oh, he has his own intro. Don't worry about him.
Hello, everyone. I am John of Legitimate Games, and I am super excited to be here tonight to play this story, which, quite frankly, I always wanted to be a part of. Story of, well, I will let you say it yourself, but I'm so excited to play this type of story, particularly that we have tonight to enjoy.
That's it. I'll come back to you in a minute for who you're playing, but I forgot to do it to you, and so I'll introduce everyone first, and we'll come back through. John plays a hell of a character, and I'm looking forward to his usual explanation. But moving up first, directly below me, only physically, not mentally, because he is the smartest man in any room, who does live his entire life in the Twin Peaks dream sequence, but as he's cut out a small bit of it tonight because he is right here next to me in the bed. He is the delicious and delightful Ben. Good evening, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, much looking forward to this evening. There is something joyous about the opportunities we get to play with John and have weird Indiana Holmes adventures in pre-war Europe. They are joyous things. So yeah, very much looking forward to this, and hoping that we'll eventually get our minds around this ridiculous situation we're in.
You hope that will happen. Who knows? I can't promise anything. What I can promise, dear viewer, is three gentlemen in the 1930s trying their hardest to find their way through a very peculiar situation. But who are these three characters going back to the 1930s? Ewan, why don't you tell us about your gentleman in the 1930s?
Yeah, why not? Tonight I'm playing Gaston Delarue, a French-born current journalist for Ce Soir newspaper, who's very excited and a lot less panicked about our current situation than I, Ewan, am. He's just happy to spend a lot of time with the wonderful receptionist Sylvie.
Oh, who wouldn't be? She is rather wonderful, it must be said.
Indeed.
Gaston seems to be making the moves. He seems to be winning her over, wooing her to his ways. What a ladies' man he is.
Time and time again, you might say.
It is. Every time she falls for his charms. Let's go down one and across one to our resident Italian. Ben, why don't you tell us about Tony?
Well, what is there to tell you? Tony is indeed an Italian. He's a bit of a raconteur, a bon vivant, and an adventurer, academic by background, a long-standing friend of Rudi, and a relatively recent acquaintance of Gaston. He's been on a couple of significant adventures before this, but if you get a few glasses of wine in him and there's a nice looking woman to talk to, he'll regale them with many more adventures that he may have heard about. He's an enthusiast, and he does generally like being the center of attention.
I was going to say exactly the same, John. Glass of wine in him, and one or two on him. Looking at my notes, I believe Tony's wearing his second best pair of trousers at the moment.
I believe that's right. I did check my separate sheet of trouser details, and I believe it's the second best pair of trousers now.
This is a very clothes first stream this evening. What colour are his second best pair of trousers? He does have a list, by the way, dear viewer.
Second best pair of trousers. Hang on a second. Second best pair of trousers they're sort of tan coloured.
Oh, beautiful. Where are his first best pair at the minute? Just out of interest for me as a GM looking to
The
cause trouble.
best pair of trousers are
Yeah.
in the room. They were the ones worn for the presentation on the Friday,
Of course.
unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
They are black, and they were changed out of after the presentation.
Ah, lovely. Beautiful. Now, yes, Tony did take part in a presentation on Friday because he is a highly sought after gentleman. But he doesn't work alone. He has a John Lennon to his Paul McCartney. He has a Cosmo to his Dibs. He has a Pinky to his Brain. And that man is Rudi Otto. John, please tell us about Rudi.
I will be delighted to. You know that I like those intros. So my character is a man who is German born but caravan raised, a citizen of the world really, who now he's at his 50s, that has spent a very interesting and peculiar life. Raising up at the caravan, he met all sorts of people all over Europe, and from a teenager, he showed a keen interest and a keen talent at bare knuckle boxing, and quickly he began his boxing career, his pro boxing career, and by his mid 20s, he was in the creme de la creme and the top contenders list of the boxing heavyweight world, because he's a very big man, and he never fought for the title, but he never lost either, as the fans of Rudi may know, and he retired undefeated with a perfect record of 9-0. Where is there it is? Yeah.
Oh, no. Sorry.
He was very invincible.
And now, to the surprise of many that knew him back then, he took all the money that he gained, he acquired from his boxing years, and as he entered the third decade of his life, he started pursuing his true passion in the world of academia, specifically history of ancient civilizations, ancient history, customs, culture, and language and the alike. And it was there in the universities, among the halls of university, where he met with his partner in crime and in solving crimes, Tony Guerrero. And they spent a couple of decades, really, or something. Maybe I'm mixing up the math. Anyway, it was many years that they are together. And after their most recent adventures, when he encountered the world of at the first true encounter with the world of the occult and the supernatural, even he started studying the obscure corners of history, the occult, and the lore. And he's at his darkest years now. Before he was donning a beautiful mustache, but now he has a big beard. um, he has he has gained a lot of weight during the last adventures, but now he has lost it. He's almost an alcoholic these days. Has lost his charisma in the sake of other traits, but still quite charismatic. And now, after realizing that he has been reliving the same day, we might see him at his most dark and crazy yet. Let's see.
Oh, I hope that's a promise. No, that Divya is our cast for the evening. There are other characters, as you can see on the left-hand side by me, that you may see turn up during the evening. But the ones we're really pulling for are Tony, Rudi, and Gaston. So remember that when you're choosing who to cheer for in situations. These are our friends. This is who we want. The game we're playing for this is using the rule set Those Dark Places and rewritten by myself for this 1930s vibe. It is, and I think we all need to raise a drink before we get started, the 10th episode of A Tony and Rudi Adventure. It's the 10th time we've had John with us. It's an absolute delight. So to our to Tony and Rudi's unbeaten record of 10-0.
I am invincible!
To a 10.
Nice.
Good tenor.
And each time the stories have got longer. So goodness knows what happened after this. But I hope everyone is sitting comfortably. I'd like you all to grab a drink, make sure the fire is on, put on the pipe if you're on a pipe, some slippers if you're on a slippers, and let's settle around, dear friends, and let's return to Le Petit Grand Hotel in St. Moritz. It is December 1937, just over half a year since the fateful voyage of the SS Cannes that left numerous innocent and not so innocent people dead, and numerous pairs of Tony Guerrero's trousers ruined beyond the capabilities of the best dry cleaners in Milan. I know little of what Tony and Rudi did for the months following their journey across the Mediterranean. I am neither their servant nor accountant. However, it was in the November of 1937 when I heard their names spoken of once more. I've been starting to wonder what amazing adventures they may have found themselves wrapped up in, when I heard tell of their invitation to speak at the Academic Symposium at the Carlton Hotel in St. Moritz, Switzerland. St. Moritz, of course, at the peak of its glory after the 1928 Winter Olympics, enjoying global appeal and lure. Many great minds have been chosen to speak at the 4-day event between Thursday the 2nd and Sunday the 5th of December. And yet, despite their late call-up, our heroes have been given an entire precious day to discuss their quest to find the mythical bracelet of Mary Magdalene. Put it over there instead. Taking a taxi from the station, they arrived on the Wednesday afternoon, with enough time to settle into the small Le Petit Grand Hotel, cursing their luck slightly that the world-famous Carlton Hotel was already full of the hundreds of other delegates to the symposium. They cursed their luck even more when the room they were given came furnished with but one, albeit luxurious, bed, with a trip to the apologetic manager only able to provide them with a twin room from Saturday night onwards. It appears our heroes would be keeping each other warm for a couple of cold Swiss winter nights. The Thursday night saw our heroes, along with their friend Gaston, eating at Chez Veglia, a converted farmhouse, the oldest farmhouse in St. Moritz. Truly splendid local cuisine that put even the Carltons' fine dining at lunchtime to shame. After a night spent sharing warmth against the cold, snowy night outside, our heroes woke early, but slightly blearily, headed for their entire day in the spotlight. Now, dear viewers, it is not my place as humble narrator to tell you how they beguiled and entranced the hundreds of great academic minds in the audience, or that it might have had something to do with Tony's best pair of trousers. I shall leave that to our heroes themselves, if they so wish. Nor can I tell you of what they said happened to the mythical bracelet, for I have been kicked out for not having a ticket at the event for that point. Needless to say, though, they were a success from what I heard, having to answer questions from the huge crowd for hours in the afternoon and early evening. But this is where I'm able to pick up with them again, returning to the humble Le Petit Grand for their evening meal. From now on, our story is shared, and is theirs to tell as much as it is mine. So all I will do is set the scene in the dining hall of Le Petit Grand, and then hand over to our fair... Wait, what do you mean you've heard it all before? This is part 5 of the tale, so of course you've heard me introduce our heroes. But, wait, what if you're right? What if you have heard this exact thing before? Now you come to mention it, this Friday night feels awfully familiar. The same guests sitting in the same seats in this rustic yet elegantly festively decorated dining hall. The waiting staff bringing out the same drinks. The same chatter of Tony and Rudi's extraordinary presentation and of the great bowman's levitation trick from the night before. Which means last night was Thursday and today's Friday. But I already know what happens tonight. If tonight is indeed Friday, I've seen it happen in front of my very eyes, and so have Tony Guerrero, Rudi Otto, and their younger friend Gaston Delarue. Maybe you have too, dear viewer. The man sat over there at the table in the centre of the room, drinking a red wine and laughing with his colleague, is the Dutchman, Dr. Pieter de Groot. Yet, at 2 o'clock this coming morning, he staggered out into the blizzard, and he's going to slit his throat right in front of Tony Guerrero, declaring his need to hunt out all evil, just as the great bowman was hypnotizing him to do. And you see that man sat at the table one along from Bauman? That's Flavio Esposito from Italy. He's here with his brother Stefano to attend the symposium. He seems like a lovely and easygoing fellow, yet tonight, when almost everyone else is asleep, he will walk out into the balcony above this very table he sat at now and leap to his death, with a desperate Tony Guerrero wrapped around him, unable to stop him. Flavio will be determined to destroy the evil inside of him too. After all, the great bowman will be hypnotizing him to root out evil. And yet, here we are, and it's not that time, and yet I remember these things that have happened and yet not happened. Now, our three heroes have theories as to why this is. They have been trying to pick at the edges of the timeline, or tear it up altogether in some cases. They found some events repeating and others easily interrupted. They have started to hear rumours of deja vu, first through botanist Claire Spelling, and within the last minute from receptionist Sylvie, which is where we join our heroes this evening. Or at least this is where we join young Gaston. Stood at the outside bar, with the glorious snowy mountains creating a beautiful vista. The attractive and friendly Sylvie stood just a foot or two away, declaring that she felt inside of her, for some reason, that it was just about to snow. Just seconds before the first snowflake of what will be a heavy blizzard overnight. That snowflake falling to earth between them. It is Friday night at the Petit Grand. But will tomorrow be Saturday? We will join Gaston, stood at the outside bar. Tony and Rudi sat at their table inside by the great fire. But we don't need to discuss all that yet because we are outside. The outside bar is quite quiet, it's cold. Gaston and Sylvie stand with snow starting to fall between them. The evening darkness starting to ease in with the beautiful surroundings. The barman at the bar, a couple out there in their heavy coats ordering a drink. Gaston, as Lloyd Grossman used to say, it's over to you.
It's only just struck me that Tony and Rudi are never going to get their own rooms. As the snow starts to come down, Gaston will take a deep breath and sip away at his drink. And see, I told you that excitement in the air before the first drop of snow.
Oh, I certainly felt some excitement in the air.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil the moment. Tell me how did you know? How did you get that feeling that the snow was about to set in on this wonderful vista?
Well, Monsieur Delarue, I guess I could lie and say that I know how it feels when it's about to snow. You know, I've worked here for a while. I've lived here all my life in this town. I could say that I'd read a forecast, that I myself could read the future. But the truth is, I feel that this time here has happened before. That I have stood out here on this night with the snow falling, but not with you necessarily. Just I sense this feeling. I don't know. I know it sounds strange. It's weird. It's crazy. Maybe I'm overworked. Maybe I have not slept enough recently. It's hard to explain.
Perhaps. I certainly I'll have words with management about overworking their staff.
Oh, please do not tell them that I've been complaining. I'm not complaining at all. Please, I need.
Not by name, but everybody should be afforded a moment to take in the joy of life, such as this, and the first snow and a drink with a beautiful lady.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what. Let's make a roll for that. Let's see how smooth you are this evening.
Oh no!
Gaston, could you please roll a charisma with your chat of all trades? So for those watching, in those dark places, you roll a d6 and you add either a charisma, agility, strength, or education, which will be somewhere between 1 and 4 points added. And then each of our heroes have certain extra skills, which can sometimes be added if they fit. One of Gaston's is Chat of All Trades, which gives him a bonus when he's talking to either, for him, very posh people or like the staff in inverted commas. And he's talking to the staff. So I'd like you to roll a d6 and add it to your charisma and Chat of All Trades, please.
Okay. Although by this, at this point, we're practically best of friends as far as Gaston's concerned.
Where she's
The amount
just
of time that we've
she's
the
known
amount
you
of
for like
time we've
3
spent
minutes.
together. It's a 4 on the dice plus a 5 is a 9.
Which is fine. So, viewer, generally an 8 is a standard check. An 8 will succeed. A 7 is a succeed with a wrinkle. You can have an easier check. You can have a hard check. But in this case, the vibe is good. The check was quite easy. She blushes somewhat and sort of tries to hide her happy smile and blush in the glass that sort of had been handed to her. It is Europe. She can have a drink or two while she's on duty, and she sort of tries to recover herself somewhat. She says, "Thank you, Monsieur Delarue. This has been a lovely moment. I'm not used to such times here. You're so good to me right now, and yet I barely know you."
He'll hide a chuckle underneath in his throat somewhere. Well, no, thank you. It's been a real pleasure, and I can't thank you enough for spending your precious break time, especially if you are so overworked with a scoundrel such as myself.
Nonsense.
Please do let me know though if if this feeling of deja vu worsens over the days, or you feel as though you're in need of a break from your duties. I can. I'm sure I could suggest in a non upfront way to the management.
No, because you rolled so well, I won't make you roll for this. Monsieur Delarue, I get off shift tonight. As you know, I'm on the door, and I'm often the last person to finish my shift outside of those putting the kitchen to bed, as it were. I finished this evening at 11:30, and I apologise to be so forward and unprofessional, but if you wish to, we could share a drink in the snug. It will be closed. There will be no one in there by then. But if you would like to share a nightcap before bed, I would truly appreciate it.
That sounds wonderful. I shall be there waiting your arrival.
I'm thrilled. Thank you. Now I must get back to my desk.
Yes, please don't let me keep you from the rest of the guests. They must be anticipating your return.
And your colleagues, you, Monsieur Delarue. I hope to see you tonight.
Sticks to itself. I hope to see tomorrow. In his head somewhere. And stays out there and finishes off his. Sorry, go on.
No, that's fine. She scurries off through the door. You see her sort of shrug off her coat onto the. She, of course, doesn't get it handed to her or taken away by the staff. She has to sort of shrug it off herself and put it onto the hook, which you can see through the windows, next to that big old bear in the hallway. And then she walks around the corner, leaving you there.
And he'll take a few minutes just to sip away casually at his drink and finish off his cigarillo before wandering back in to find the other two.
Okay, so as Gaston, for those that have not heard the description before, the Gaston will head through those doors in the outside bar into the hallway, and the hallway is like the rest of the hotel, is very heavy with pine and woods. The smell of the wood is settled and varnished, but the smell is still very strongly there. Mixes with greenery because Christmas is coming, and it's been decorated with hollies and ivies and mistletoes, and there's some berries in there, and there's some baubles and some decorations. And inside that door there is a giant stuffed bear, slightly squinty looking, an umbrella hanging over each arm, and a comically placed hat atop its head. Along to the left of there's a row of coats for people to take to go to the famous outside bar. And there is a man who stands there, sort of handing out and taking the coats to put back for guests. As Gaston swings to the right through the doors open up into the dining hall. It's a beautiful space. Again, it's incredibly wooden, but with a lot of greenery running along the sides. To the left, as he walks in, directly above, you have the balcony above the bedrooms, above the walkway. And there are tables scattered throughout the dining hall, beautiful round tables. At the far end, between the door to the kitchen and the corridor and the snug, is a grand fireplace. And in front of that fireplace, as he walks past the chattering tables surrounded by the symposium guests and day guests alike, at the last table by the fire are two heroes that we all recognise and love. One by his surprisingly bushy beard, and another by his surprisingly unstained tan trousers. They are the delightful Tony and Rudi. Tony is sat at the table with a bottle of champagne with no glasses. Rudi has just closed up his notebook, of which he has added a diagram of the bracelet in the middle of his notes, which he's sort of been writing every day. He's having to rewrite them every day, but he's writing them every day. And this is where we shall join the whole group of three.
I shall begin by opening my champagne, please.
Yes, please roll agility, please.
Oh, are we going early this week?
It is 1930. Okay, that's a 6 plus 1.
Okay. Were you going to go for the big pop, or were you going to go for the gentle screw?
I'm just going to, as I would normally do it, hold over the top of the cork and then unscrew the bottle gently.
Okay. That's not bad. Tony is adept at it. He's a man who knows how to drink, and a man who's opened many bottles of drink in his time. As he's sort of feeling the cork give way somewhat, there is a slight spasm in his hand. I don't know what it is. Maybe a flinching memory of him hitting the ground last night as he fell from the balcony, and the bottle jerks away slightly as it pops, and a bit more champagne spills out onto the table than you would hope, but only on the table.
Only the table.
Only the table.
I'm going to
eyes turn around, of course, at the champagne pop, so people are sort of briefly looking at you.
I'm going to show Rudi the bottle and say, here is my theory. It is impossible for someone in practical terms to doctor a bottle of champagne if you open it yourself. As long as I hold on to the neck of this thing I know that if this is all I eat and drink this evening, nobody is going to drug me.
My
One of the
dear
things I need
friend,
to rule out.
Tony. He opens his notes before you and he starts creating that diagram again, which on the left has the names of those who have been under Great Bauman spell. On the middle, what was the type of spell, and on the right, the resolution. And he also has before you 5 theories.
Mhm.
First says magic. The second says we've been conned. The third says we've been drugged. The fourth is we are mad, and the fifth is this is a dream. But he also included a sixth that is the bracelet theory. My dear friend Tony, we have much work to do. There must be a logical explanation to this, and we will figure it out. We will not let this Bauman or whoever is behind this fool us yet again. I think we can overrule and rule out the we've been conned theory. He crosses it over with an X. Behold, he shows you his hand. This is the location. He doesn't have anything on his forehand, and says this is a location where I've deliberately wounded myself just to be sure it would happen again. But then again, we have encountered something that can miraculously heal wounds, haven't we not? And he's pointing with his pencil the bracelet.
It's true. It can heal wounds. However, as far as I'm aware, it cannot recreate a memory. Not that I know of. So my theory is I'm going to take my bottle of champagne for a little walk outside the hotel, and I'm going to check those things I looked at. The other side of a building, that place where some painting was being done on the fence. And in doing so, I should be able to verify that we're on the same track, that effectively this has recreated things that my mind couldn't possibly have known about. If this is reality and that was fantasy, or that will rule that out. That, as far as I know, the bracelet. So if you'll bear